So why don't we go ahead and get started? Really excited to have everyone on today. Thank y'all for joining out of your busy days. Really going to be talking about the AI coach today, the third agent of the Kaizen Tiger team. So appreciate y'all spending time with us. But we're going to dive in with a couple of introductions. So Nithya.
Hi, I joined the Klarity team this year, early Feb. And I used to actually be a practicing architect. Very soon realized that was not what I wanted to do. So I worked on experience design for sporting events with the firm I was working with and got to work on the Super Bowl, got to work on an MLB draft, an MLS draft, and I just knew that was my calling. And then I made a quick shift into product design after that and worked with the startup. And that's when I found Klarity.
I love that. Nitya done some exciting things. And nice to meet you all. I'm Bahir Hosny. I am a strategic sales engineer here at Klarity. Prior to come to Klarity, background pretty well rounded in accounting and finance, where I started at Ardent Mills doing customer risk management, as well as some treasury functionality. And then previously, I was at Oracle NetSuite. So I believe a lot of y'all will be familiar with NetSuite. But the agenda today, first, we're going to give you a brief introduction of Klarity, what we've done, and some of the things you might have already seen from your prior experience. But then introduce the coach. We'll get into a demo of it, talk through what it looks like, what it feels like, and what the real value is. And then we'll wrap up with a Q&A session. But again, please feel free to ask questions as they come up so you don't forget them in the chat. But diving in here, so just wanted to showcase some of the great clients we already have here today. We really partner with AI forward focus Fortune 2000 companies in a number of different industries. So whether that's cyber security, SaaS, communications, healthcare, and we're expanding every day. But really, one thing that they all came to us for is they are very AI forward, but they also understand that traditional transformation is dead, as our CEO likes to say. It's super slow today, the way that it's done. It's cumbersome and really painful, right? So today, what the current flow really is analyzing your PDFs manually, right? Interviewing everyone across the organization, which can take a lot of time, especially as you have your day-to-day job to do as well. Then you're trying to capture that, so you're documenting that manually. And we'll talk about some of the use cases where we've seen some customers have some really great success. But then by the time you're done with those interviews, you're going through and trying to identify what are we doing today and what is our desired state. That can take months and even years to really accomplish, right? Especially at the large organizations such as yourself, where then change management is so far down the road that by the time you've already done these interviews and your analysis of your current state process, things have already changed, right? So it's really super cumbersome. And that's where we came up with the Kaizen Tiger team. So the concept of Kaizen is really getting continuous improvements that are compounding. So 1% every day, compounding over time will give you huge results, as we all know, with the stock market. And we came up with these three different team members, or think about these as our agents built in within the solution that all come included with your Klarity with Klarity, right? So right now I'm going to focus on the analyst advisor just to give you an understanding of what those do. But first, the analyst is really going to be your current state capture, right? We have to understand what we're doing here today to really drive that transformation, since transformation is key. The first piece is we're able to intake, different types of documents, PDFs, CSVs, as well as MP4s. But also, we've introduced the AI interviewer where it's a more hands-on approach. And it's instead of Nithya interviewing every single one of you to really understand what you're doing today, we brought in AI to the interview for you where it's going to understand what you're doing. Then we're going to be able to map your current process with the current state, understand what's happening here today, to in turn couple that with the advisor, right? So the advisor, think of this as your unlimited McKinsey analyst within your pocket, where you're able to ask any questions to meet your business objectives. So whether that's going to be an OpEx reduction in time, creating efficiencies, but really identifying those pieces today that are going to say, okay, where's the biggest gap in what we're doing today, and what can we do to solve it, utilizing the power of AI, right? So with the analyst, one great use case we have is with DoorDash. So with DoorDash today, they were able to run about 4,000 different operations in a matter of 14 or 15 weeks. Now, the CAO of DoorDash was telling us that it would have taken him 3 years to document this if he did not have Clarity. So the old way of transformation would have taken him 3 years, and what he's been able to do in just a matter of a few months, right? Then, now that he's capturing that, he's going in and utilizing the advisor to start deciding where can we change what we're doing today to be more efficient, to reach our business metrics. As we all know, time is everything. So decreasing that time spent on their processes. Now, we want to take a quick poll of what is the primary means of giving feedback or coaching in your organization today. And this is really going to help us segue into the third leg of the Tiger team is coach. Perfect. So looking like a lot of one-on-ones and performance reviews, not so much in the moment. Amazing. Yeah. So looks like we got about a 50-50 split, roughly. More one-on-ones than performance reviews, which obviously one-on-ones have to be scheduled. Performance reviews also are another way of looking at one-on-ones. And zero people said they do it in the moment, right? So imagine if you could do change in the moment, what that would mean for your team, right?
Okay, so Bahir's talked to you about current state capture and the desired state that you want to get to. But then there's this missing piece, right? And here's where most of transformation always fails, where you can have the best current state documentation, you can have a brilliant future state design, but if your people don't change how they actually do that day-to-day work, none of it's actually going to play into their workflows. So there's no hope for actual continuous improvement at this point. And this is where potentially coach comes in, because think about it. Some people on this call probably have executive coaches and people who help you be better at what you do. So they give you personalized guidance based on how you do your work and not the generic best practice in the industry. But that doesn't really scale amongst folks. So you can't give everyone in your organization that personal executive coach, can you? So what happens to companies usually at that point? That's when they come in and they buy tools. And we all know how that potentially goes, because with more tools, there comes a lack of adoption. And if you're lucky, 10% of your folks are going to adopt those tools. And that's where you see the transformation start to fail and dwindle. So this is where coach comes in and solves this. It's that personalized AI coaching that actually will scale as tools increase in your pocket, the way and transformation needs increase. So this is where coach really will double down on a double duty situation, where it's not just getting an individual coached on how they can improve, but it's also helping you capture a current state, organizational business, I guess a business view in real time.
100%, right? So the goal of coach is to really get those continuous improvements that are going to be compounding over time, right? So rather than waiting for your one-on-one reviews, waiting for those feedback sessions, which could be a quarterly or monthly, which also would be interested to hear what that looks like. But Clarity is doing that in real time, right? Which again, no one answered. They're doing real-time feedback. But what we're able to do with Coach is it's going to be able to be toggled on and off, and we'll see this here in the demo. It's going to be able to watch your screen and watch what you're doing as you're doing. All you really do is turn it on at the moment, and then you just go about your day, right? But then we're going to be able to generate SOPs, training guides, understand what's happening, and even update those as things are coming along the way. And then again, what Nithya will talk about a little bit later is putting that into the current state capture, because again, transformation and continuous improvement is an endless loop. So without further ado, let's dive into Clarity. So welcome to, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit for everyone. Welcome to Clarity. And what we're going to be doing is looking at the coach, right? These other pieces here we've already mentioned were for the analyst and the advisor. but really focusing on the coach today and what that looks like and what that feels like. So now let's say I'm an individual contributor. Let's go with a senior accountant or a controller today, right? I'm going about my day-to-day job and I want to start a session here today, right? Now, one thing on this coaching within Klarity, it is going to be specific to the user, right? So Nithya will not be able to see, Luke will not be able to see what I do or what Sigrid does as well, right? Because we feel like you doing those things and continuous improvement will drive better results if it's for your team and without having anyone watch over your back, right? So as I start the session, you're going to notice a couple things. So first, it's going to ask me a couple questions about what the purpose of what I'm doing is today, right? So here we have marketing. Although I'm a solutions consultant, we're doing a little bit of marketing today. But on top of that, it's going to ask you to tell you about the tasks that you perform on a day-to-day, right? We also ask for a minimum of 200 words because the more detail you give, the better the results are going to be, right? So going in here, we're talking about the growth lead at Klarity, which is Sin Young. So happy late birthday to Sin Young. But operating within the SaaS industry plays a pivotal role in the intersection of product strategy, right? So having this level of detail as I go through my coaching session, I will be able to understand what I'm doing. The last piece here is I'm going to hit continue and it's going to ask to share my screen. So again, it's going to be able to watch what I'm doing when I'm doing it to make sure that it's understanding that, can look at the screen as well. And we can even ask questions in real time to the coach about what I'm doing in the process to make sure I'm doing it the right way. Or if there's something that I'm just really don't even know how to do, ask it to really guide me through that process. So as I hit continue, it will say, this is confidential. So again, reassuring the end user will not be shared with the entire organization. But as I start this coaching session, I'm going to share my entire screen. And now I'm going to see the little coach countdown, but the little coach menu bar toggled at the bottom, right? So really, this is all we have to do to start it. On the left here, you'll be able to see a conversational coach, so we can ask coach anything. But also, as I hop into Bahir Labs, so an account, I'm going to see this toolbar at the bottom will remain here, right? So now I'm getting that incremental change. I'm doing my day-to-day job, but maybe I'm curious about what I'm even supposed to be doing in this account functionality, right? So I can simply click Ask Coach, and I could even say, how do I schedule a follow-up email within Salesforce or HubSpot, since we do use both here today, right? So again, in real time, without me having to go bother, let's say Nithya, as I'm her direct report, I'm going to be able to do this for us in real time. And again, focus on that change management on every individual employee, right? So in prior old traditional transformation, we'd have to go have conversations. Your manager would have to watch over you, and then they'd have to give you that feedback that we've done, and even in those performance reviews. But here I'm able to see, okay, within a couple seconds, I have a descriptive answer of what I actually need to do. It's telling me to go to the activity, go to the email, compose my message, and exactly showing me those steps here today, right? Even if I were to hop into, let's say, back into a slide deck where I'm showing, different pieces and I'm editing that, it'd still be able to capture this. I could always come back to Klarity, see the question that I've asked, and keep asking additional questions here.
Another thing we should also mention, Bahir, is like, let's say you're, on calls during the day. Potentially you can unmute and have coach be on those calls with you. It will be capturing data from that call because there is the mic capabilities and stuff. But you can also talk to it, right? Like if you want to make sure coach is capturing something, you can feel free to unmute and let coach know. It will make a note of it. And the goal really is that people can potentially run this throughout their day. So it's not something you need to interfere with through the day, but you go in and you use when you feel like it. And at the end of the day, that's when, you see the fruit that this bears.
100%, 100%. And since that's really my role here, this is how I utilize the coach to really get that feedback and those questions. And last piece, if you use multiple screens like I do, you can toggle back and forth between the screens to really make sure you're getting the full breadth of the coach, right? Now, Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and walk y'all through 30 minutes or an hour of what I do. So let's pull up a report that was already generated because at the end of this, when I end the session, Clarity will pull up a report and let me know what I'm doing, right? So one, we'll be able to see all the questions that were asked. We'll be able to also see the duration of the coaching session and different questions. So before I asked it, how can I see a preview of an email in HubSpot? How can I automate an email that will be sent 2 days after? Again, empowering me to do more with less. Then from here, we're going to get our report. Now, at a high level, we'll be able to see exactly what activities were done and the quick take from the AI of, what did I do here? But then it'll give us even more detailed reports, right? Or detailed information. So what are we observing and what the opportunity is, what exactly we're doing here within the meeting, and then what feedback it has, again, based off of everything I've done in this 41-minute session. Then it's even giving us direct direction of what should we be doing better, right? Why does this matter for my role? As we see here, why it matters is, velocity determines market capture. So again, without having to have a multitude of people coming in to really identify what we need to do, we're going to get this report at the end of the day. We can run this throughout the entire day, but you will generate a report about every 30 minutes. So as you're going through it, you're going to get that constant feedback and again, be able to improve your day-to-day work life. Then it will also be able to create that SOP and update existing SOPs, and not to get into too much of what Nithya will talk about, but a really powerful tool there. Now I'm going to switch back over to the slide deck real quick and show y'all a couple of different things within the reporting, right? So here we'll be able to see some general recommendations of what we just showed you, right? So it's saying you're being helpful, but you're not building leverage. So giving us direct feedback on what should we be doing better and why should we be doing that, right? What can we do about this? And then who's learning from when you solve it for them, right? Again, we're going to get these general feedbacks on the specific processes that we're doing. But on top of that, we're going to get process aligned recommendations, right? So these process alignment recommendations are going to be over the entire process that we capture, but also maybe we hit a couple of different sub processes within this, right? Did I adhere to what the prescribed steps were? So if we have a gold standard SOP, essentially, was I following this? Especially as we have maybe interns coming in and they're going through the process, we don't want to capture their process as the gold standard, right? So we'll let them know, what did they do? Did they do what they were supposed to? And then what were the improvements that could happen are identified, right? So what are the benefits of that? The efficiency, quality, scalability. But again, this is really where you're getting the value because it's going to tell you what you've done, what you should be doing, all within a matter of one day rather than waiting for months, right? So then you're also going to get metrics, and I'm someone who loves percentages and numbers and charts. So you get metrics on how did I do against the alignment, what improvements could we do, what gaps and what things did I miss, right? In terms of the steps found to the gold standard. Then finally, here's just an additional showing of the adherence versus the gap and what we're doing here today. But all of that is to really talk about the continuous improvement, right? If we can be 1% better every day, I believe at the end of the year, you'd be roughly 30 to 35 times better. So, 3,500% better because of the kaizen and the compounding improvements that we can do here today, right? With Coach, you're also going to get the general improvements plus the process improvements to standardize that execution. And then in turn, you're going to be doing this throughout your life with Clarity. So you're going to be able to compound on that and really start seeing that value day in, day out. Which brings me to an additional poll question. What type of coaching would be most useful for your org, right? So we already saw what you're doing today and when you're getting that feedback, but what would be really impactful for the organization?
Well, we have a few answers coming in.
Few answers: onboarding new employees,
Process
process
changes.
changes, so along the lines of transformation. And a lot of what Nithya is going to talk about too is going to help with that onboarding the new employees, right? Like as you're utilizing the coach, it's going to be able to capture what you're doing so that new employees can utilize
process.
it day in, day out, right?
Potentially also the process changes will be the crux of it.
100%. 100%.
Okay. So Bahir's talked us through how it deals with continuous improvement. And this is where we initially started off. Like the report we got was, what we were initially working on was this continuous improvement report. But what we found that this report actually gave us was extremely rich content that could potentially help serve the business in ways that we didn't anticipate. And although those individual reports and individual captures, it it is catering to an individual user, in this case, Bahir's sessions, right? It has the power to actually unlock something for the business. And so we created a way for the users to be able to impact the business as well, submit that session and contribute to that understanding of what current state potentially looks like in organizations. So what he talked you through one of the two reports, right? One was the session summary report, and the second report was your process adherence report. In addition, what the coaching session gives you is this activities captured, which happens along with the reports every 30 minutes. And that continuous capture ensures that we have a detailed and very up-to-date record of what all activities were performed during that session. So in his case, he was doing a bunch of HubSpot work. So it's capturing each and every activity and when they occur. And it also eliminates this need for potential manual documentation of those process steps, because each sub-step that's done has to potentially be handed off to someone else who has to do it next. So it saves the time and reduces any potential errors that could happen when you're handing off work. So all of this, it actually streamlines that documentation process of documenting the steps that ensures that people are going to do this in a consistent manner and across the board, right? You want to make sure that nothing's getting missed, and the next person who comes to do this, apart from Bahir, is also doing it the way Bahir did it, or maybe even doing it better. So one of the biggest benefits that we saw unlocked was the fact that each of these captured activities could potentially be influencing the existing hierarchy. So let's say Bahir went in and did a process in 30 minutes, but Nithya did it a month ago and she took 45. So that's potentially influencing the fact that Bahir knows how to do this better and faster. That's an unlock. So it allows us to update those existing processes and also potentially create a new hierarchy. So let's say he did something that isn't documented as part of my organizational hierarchy. It will capture and say that, okay, it looks like you performed this process, but it's not part of your hierarchy. Would you want to include it? So that data is organized within the process structure automatically, making it easy to access and review by, the next order folks who are going to come in and make sure, processes are in place in the organization. So to facilitate this potential uh, use and unlock of coach, we start you off with the skeleton hierarchy. It's like a starter pack that we give you, and it's almost it's provided upfront. So it provides you with everything you need to get started up to like an L2, L3 situation, which is being vetted, and it's built. We've seen a lot of success with that starter pack, and that initial setup is pretty crucial today as it helps guide that automatic linking. But with that guidance and the way coach understands your work, it will unlock very important processes that are captured during your session and potentially tell you that these are the missing nodes in your hierarchy. These are what you want to include in your hierarchy. So it helps maintain an existing hierarchy, but also helps grow that hierarchy and keep it real time. So with the folks who've actually used Klarity before, this is a significant shift from a document-centric approach to a very rich text capture that's directly within the process. So what we try to do is we wanted to enhance how we document and manage those processes and make it accessible and dynamic, right? Because real-time updates to processes are probably the hardest thing to do with transformation. So with this, potentially you're saying that even if Bahir ran a session today, if Nithya ran the same session tomorrow and had three learnings from it, it would update that process. So it provides that more accurate and up-to-date representation of how the organization should be working or how work should get done on teams. So despite that shift, there is, of course, an importance to traditional documentation, and is a big use case around it for sure. But that's why we maintain the ability to generate those documents nevertheless. So you can still generate those artifacts beyond that ability of, capturing your process. So the feature itself ensures that, you can produce that formal documentation as and when you need, but it's also going to benefit this dynamic capability where you can real time update an organizational structure. Just to recap on the fact that, all of this data is super secure and no one wants a big brother desktop agent. There is absolute user control and privacy throughout this feature, because the users have complete control about on what they want to potentially share to the process. So even if during your session it's potentially telling you that this activity caters to this process, would you like to send this observation there? It is something that you have the ability to choose to not share at the end of the session, or share if you think it's going to add value to your and value and impact to your process admin. So it's information that's of course accurate because you have control over it, but users can feel absolutely secure on how this data is handled. In addition, the reports itself, they live in your environment within your workspace, but it also gets sent to your email inbox. So you can access it from your email directly if you choose to. Um, and for the most part, I want to reiterate the fact about the big brother feeling, because you don't want, like, as much as the PIP, like the picture in picture little models following you around and watching the work you're doing, it's more there to serve you than be something that's feeling like, your privacy is being infiltrated on. So it's more to serve you because you can ask it questions each time it's with you. It's actually looking at what you're watching, and you can ask questions on the fly, real time. So that's where the most value comes in. Let's
Perfect.
hop on to our last question. So we've of course shared a bunch of information today. So it's a lot of new things coming your way. But if there is an area within the scope of this that you're most interested to understand or learn more about, feel free to click on this poll so that it helps us get better and we know where we need to serve you.
And lastly, we appreciate y'all again. I know everyone's super busy, but hopefully this was helpful to give you some insight on what Klarity can do. And we're excited to always show you these webinars as we keep coming out with new features to help your day to day. So appreciate y'all, and feel free to reach out via the QR codes, or you can ping us directly via emails or LinkedIn. So appreciate you all.